The year 2024 has seen a sharp rise in mass deportations across the United States, with several states taking a more aggressive stance against undocumented immigrants. These deportations, often involving thousands of individuals, reflect a nationwide push for stricter immigration enforcement, under the renewed focus of federal immigration policies. While some states have ramped up their enforcement efforts, the debate over the consequences of such actions continues to rage, on one hand, bolstering national security, and on the other, raising concerns about the impact on communities and families. Here are the 10 states leading the charge in mass deportations in 2024. Number 10. Ohio, a state historically known for its manufacturing and agriculture, has recently become a hotspot for deportation activity. In 2024, the state has seen a significant rise in deportations, with a focus on undocumented immigrants who have criminal records. Ohio has partnered closely with Immigration and Customs Enforcement, an agency within the U.S. Department of Homeland Security, intensifying its efforts to remove individuals deemed a threat to public safety. While the state's officials defend the policy, claiming that it's essential to maintain safety and security, critics argue that it disproportionately targets immigrants who are simply trying to build better lives. Despite its relatively smaller numbers compared to some other states, Ohio has dramatically increased deportation figures, from 5,000 in 2023 to a projected 10,000 in 2024. The state's approach raises a major question: are these deportations truly keeping Ohio safer, or are they fracturing families and communities? As deportations increase, Ohio residents will likely find themselves divided over this issue. Ultimately, Ohio's stance on deportation reflects a broader trend in the U.S., where the focus is shifting to interior enforcement and prioritizing individuals with criminal records. As the state continues to collaborate with federal immigration authorities, more deportations are expected, despite public debates over the human costs involved. Number 9. South Carolina. The story of immigration enforcement is deeply tied to its relationship with federal agencies. The state has increased its deportation efforts significantly in 2024, with numbers rising from 8,000 in 2023 to 12,000 this year. South Carolina has long been known for its cooperation with federal authorities, and its local law enforcement officers actively participate in identifying and detaining undocumented immigrants. The state's policy, focused on collaboration with federal authorities, is designed to ensure that people living in South Carolina without legal status face the consequences of their actions. However, critics argue that it fosters an environment of fear, especially among vulnerable populations such as children and families. For many, South Carolina's aggressive stance on deportation represents a broader shift in U.S. policy, where local and state governments increasingly cooperate with federal agencies to enforce immigration laws. While some believe this improves public safety, others see it as an infringement on the rights of immigrants trying to make a living in the country. As the number of deportations continues to rise, South Carolina will remain a key player in the national debate over immigration policy. The question remains: is the state acting in the best interests of its residents, or is it pushing vulnerable families further to the margins? Number 8. Alabama. They made headlines for its tough stance on immigration in recent years, and 2024 is no different. The state has dramatically increased its deportation numbers, from 10,000 in 2023 to 15,000 in 2024, with a strong focus on interior enforcement. Alabama's policies are often linked to its economic strategies, aimed at reducing the perceived burden of undocumented workers on state resources. Alabama's aggressive approach targets undocumented individuals involved in criminal activity, further elevating concerns about public safety. Yet, the reality is more complex, as many of those deported have committed minor offenses or have no criminal history at all. The state's strategy has left many questioning whether it's truly about safety or about political points. For families in Alabama, the increasing deportation numbers mean constant fear and uncertainty, especially in immigrant communities. The state's close collaboration with federal immigration agencies ensures that deportations are swift, but the collateral damage is high, with families torn apart and communities disrupted. As Alabama's enforcement tactics continue to expand, it becomes clear that the state is firmly aligned with a national agenda prioritizing immigration control over the human consequences of such actions. The balance between law and compassion remains a constant tension. Number 7. Tennessee. They've seen a notable rise in deportations in 2024, with the state's focus being on undocumented immigrants who have criminal records. From 15,000 deportations in 2023, Tennessee has now reached 20,000 in 2024, reinforcing the state's dedication to public safety by targeting individuals who pose a potential threat. The state's cooperation with Immigration and Customs Enforcement Agency has been a cornerstone of its immigration strategy. While Tennessee's leaders assert that these deportations are necessary to protect residents, the reality for families is often grim. Many deported individuals have built lives in Tennessee and are vital parts of their communities. For some, the idea that deportations are improving safety feels more like a way to scapegoat immigrants rather than address underlying issues. Tennessee's focus on criminal records has led to significant increases in arrests, and many families now live in fear of being separated. The harshness of Tennessee's enforcement policies reflects a broader national trend towards criminalizing undocumented immigration and prioritizing law and order over human rights. As Tennessee continues to ramp up its deportation efforts, the question remains whether the focus on criminalization truly enhances public safety or whether it harms communities more than it helps. Number 6. North Carolina, a state that has seen gradual increases in immigration enforcement, has become more active in deportations in 2024. From 20,000 in 2023, deportations have risen to 25,000, with the state intensifying its collaboration with federal authorities. North Carolina has increasingly relied on federal programs and initiatives, such as the 287G program, which allows local law enforcement to act as immigration officers. This close cooperation has led to increased numbers of undocumented immigrants being detained and deported, particularly those with criminal backgrounds. However, North Carolina's rise in deportations has drawn criticism from those who believe that such tactics create distrust between law enforcement and immigrant communities. For the residents of North Carolina, the policy shift has significant consequences. Immigrant families, once secure in their daily routines, now live in constant fear of deportation. As the state continues to ramp up its immigration enforcement, the debate over the balance between security and human rights grows louder. In the future, North Carolina's policies will likely face legal challenges, as advocates argue that the rights of immigrants and their families are being violated in favor of strict enforcement. The state will remain a key battleground in the nationwide struggle over immigration policy. Number 5. Georgia. They are one of the most active states in enforcing immigration laws, and 2024 has been no exception. The state has seen a rise in deportations from 25,000 in 2023 to 30,000 in 2024. Georgia's immigration enforcement policies are designed to identify and deport undocumented individuals who are involved in criminal activity. The state's collaboration with federal agencies, including Immigration and Customs Enforcement Agency, ensures that deportations are carried out swiftly. Georgia's approach prioritizes interior enforcement, targeting individuals already living within the state who are in violation of immigration laws. While this focus on public safety and criminal activity is supported by many, the reality for families in Georgia is that the line between public safety and personal hardship is often blurred. For immigrants, Georgia represents a harsh reality, where their presence is constantly under scrutiny. Even those with strong community ties and legal jobs are not immune to deportation, making it clear that the state's policies are driven by a zero-tolerance approach to undocumented immigrants. As Georgia continues to work closely with federal authorities, its policies will likely continue to generate controversy. While some see it as a necessary step towards securing the state, others view it as an infringement on basic human rights. Number 4. California, often seen as a sanctuary state, has faced challenges in balancing its progressive stance on immigration with the growing pressure from federal enforcement. Despite being a state known for its sanctuary laws, California has seen a significant rise in deportations in 2024, from 30,000 in 2023 to 35,000. Federal mandates have led to an increase in deportations, creating tension between state protections and federal demands. California's sanctuary policies are designed to shield undocumented immigrants from deportation, but the reality is that federal enforcement is still having a significant impact. In many cases, state officials are caught between upholding their own policies and complying with federal law, making it clear that California's position is becoming increasingly difficult to navigate. For immigrant families in California, the rise in deportations is a reminder that no state, no matter how progressive, is fully immune from federal immigration policies. As tensions between state and federal governments continue to escalate, the future of California's sanctuary laws will remain uncertain. California's experience highlights the ongoing struggle between local protections and federal mandates, and it serves as a reminder of the complexities of immigration enforcement in a deeply divided political landscape. Number 3. Florida. They had long been a battleground in the fight over immigration policies, and 2024 has only intensified the debate. With a focus on undocumented immigrants with criminal records, Florida has ramped up its deportation efforts, with the state seeing 45,000 deportations in 2024, up from 40,000 in 2023. Florida's strong stance on criminal immigration enforcement has earned praise from some for improving public safety, but it has also drawn sharp criticism for disproportionately affecting immigrants without criminal histories. For many, the policies in Florida seem more about political motivations than actual public safety. Critics argue that the deportation surge is part of a broader effort to appease anti-immigrant sentiment among voters. For immigrant families, Florida represents a state where the risk of being separated from loved ones is ever present, and where the fight for immigration rights has grown more urgent. As Florida continues its tough stance on deportations, the controversy surrounding its approach will likely escalate, forcing policymakers to grapple with the balance between enforcement and human rights. Number 2. Texas, a state with a long history of strict immigration enforcement, has remained at the forefront of mass deportations in 2024. The state's figures have risen dramatically, from 50,000 deportations in 2023 to an expected 60,000 in 2024. Texas has become a focal point for immigration policies under Governor Greg Abbott, with the state often taking the lead in implementing federal immigration directives. The state's border regions, in particular, are hotspots for deportation efforts, with thousands of undocumented immigrants detained every month. Texas has ramped up the use of local law enforcement to assist with detaining and deporting undocumented individuals, a move that has intensified tensions between local communities and authorities. While proponents argue that Texas's strict approach is necessary to maintain security, critics contend that the state's policies are contributing to an environment of fear and division. Immigrant families, in particular, are caught in a constant state of anxiety, as deportation looms over their everyday lives. Texas's continued commitment to aggressive immigration enforcement underscores the broader national divide over immigration policy. Number 1. Arizona. They emerged as the leader in mass deportations in 2024, surpassing even Texas in deportation numbers. The state's aggressive stance on immigration enforcement is rooted in its stringent laws, such as SB 1070, which means the Support Our Law Enforcement and Safe Neighborhoods Act, which has drawn national attention since it was first enacted. Arizona's deportations have skyrocketed to over 70,000 in 2024, up from 60,000 in 2023. The state's policies focus heavily on targeting both individuals with criminal backgrounds and those who are perceived to have overstayed their visas. Arizona's strict cooperation with federal agencies like Immigration and Customs Enforcement Agency has made it a hotbed for deportation activity, especially in border areas where law enforcement is on high alert. For immigrants, particularly those without criminal records, Arizona represents one of the harshest states to live in. The fear of deportation is ever present, with many families torn apart as a result of stringent immigration enforcement policies. While Arizona's leaders argue that their tactics are necessary to protect public safety, many view the state's approach as punitive and unjust, causing harm to thousands of individuals who have lived in the state for years. In 2024, the rise in mass deportations across these 10 states highlights the shifting landscape of U.S. immigration policy, marked by a greater emphasis on enforcement and border security. While states like Arizona, Texas and Florida have led the way. The debate over the human cost of these policies continues to grow. As deportation numbers soar, families and communities across the nation find themselves at the mercy of a system that prioritizes immigration control over the welfare of its residents. The future of U.S. immigration policy remains uncertain, as these states' aggressive deportation tactics are likely to face both legal and social pushback. Regardless of where one stands on the issue, it's clear that the consequences of these mass deportations will have a lasting impact on individuals, families, and communities for years to come.